Alrighty, let's go ahead and do this one more time. So it's been about 4.5 years since we were first introduced to Miles Morales in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I was really excited for that movie, and I think I was in the minority that was actually really excited for that film, mostly because I didn't know anything about Miles Morales, and I actually did like the animation styles when we saw it in the trailers, and when I saw the film, I didn't know how special that movie was going to be. Not only was it my favorite comic book film of 2018, but it was one of my favorite films of 2018, and I absolutely loved that film. I was about a week late to the party with that film, but I ended up coming out enjoying it. And so Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was my number one anticipated film of the year, mostly because of how much I loved Into the Spider-Verse. And so this was really, really, really high. My expectations for this film were sky high, and I can confidently say that this film met every single expectation that I had. Going into Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, we follow Miles Morales, who catapults across this multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people, but when the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles must redefine what it means to be a hero. We have Shamik Moore returning as Miles Morales, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy, Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis, and Luna Lauren Velez as Rio Morales. And we also have newcomers Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, who we met at the post-credit scene of Into the Spider-Verse, Issa Rae as Spider-Woman, Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk, and Karan Soni as Spider-Man India. And this movie was absolutely a lot of fun. Everything about this movie was spectacular. From the very first shot of the film to the ending shot of this film, everything visually was masterful. The story in this film has some darker tones, and it goes in a different way than I was very expecting it to go. It takes its time with its story, and that's something that I absolutely came out really loving about this film. It doesn't move at a quick pace. It has a very slow pace to a small degree, and even though this movie has some humor in it, it's not as heavy-handed as it is in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This film takes the humor that we love about Into the Spider-Verse and it brings it down just a little bit, making the darker tones of this film kind of take place over the humor of this film. And just the relationship between Miles and Gwen in this film is absolutely fantastic. Coming out of Into the Spider-Verse, I didn't know how I was going to feel about them maybe becoming partners or a couple in this series. I feel like those are the steps that these characters are taking, and it just blossoms every single time that they're on screen. Their interactions is fantastic. Shamik Moore and Haley Steinfeld have fantastic chemistry together, and they play well off of each other. You also have Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, and he doesn't have a big screen presence, but whenever he is on screen, he is just menacing. He is a force. He has his moral mission that he has to accomplish, and we find out what it is when it comes down to it, and I absolutely loved his character. I love Spider-Woman, Spider-Man India, and Spider-Punk. I think Spider-Punk is probably the highlight of this film. And Into the Spider-Verse, I think the highlight of that film was Spider-Man Noir. In this film, it's going to be Spider-Man Punk. And I absolutely love the fact that we were able to explore a little bit more into the Spider-Verse and see different types of spider people. Those are the things that I really enjoyed about this movie. The visuals, the way that each dimension and each place look different. They really do have their own sense of style, and that's what makes this film kind of feel like it's coming to life. You have the relationship between Miles and his parents that I absolutely loved. You see how much he's changing since he's growing up, since the last time that we've seen him, and just seeing the trials and tribulations of being Spider-Man. How can you have the best of both worlds? And in some cases, you can't, because there's going to be tragedy when it comes down to Spider-Man, as we've seen in previous Spider-Man films. And just every little piece of detail that we have in this movie just comes to life just a little bit more. If there was one universe that we kind of wish we spent a little bit more time in, it would be Spider-Gwen's, because I think out of all the universes that we see in this film, I think hers is my favorite because it has a very paint-like quality to the texture and the way that it looks, the way everybody interacts, and just the way that this movie kicks off. The things that we love about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gets transferred into this film, and it just heightens up a little bit more. Yeah, it takes a little bit more of a darker tone, and you do feel that just a little bit. You also have Jason Schwartzman as the Spot, who is the villain of this film, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I think he stole every single scene that he was in, but just the way that he was introduced in this film, I absolutely loved, and I can't wait to see more of him because I think he's going to be playing a bigger part than we actually expect him to. And then you also have the relationship between Gwen and her dad that I absolutely loved, and it kind of has those shades that you see in Miles and his dad that kind of reflect her and her dad as well. And just seeing the way that she interacts with him is fantastic. I absolutely love those scenes. Peter B. Parker returns in this movie. However, he doesn't have a big role, and neither do a lot of the spider people in this film. This movie really just focuses on the relationship between Miles and Gwen, and Miles and his parents, him trying to keep his secret from his parents, but at the same time wanting to tell them. There are different themes in this movie that really mesh together, and sometimes it feels like a couple of scenes here and there are drawn out just a little bit, and it kind of extends the runtime just a little bit. But that did not take away from the enjoyment that I had with this movie because it focuses on the things that we love, but it also brings in new elements, and that is something that is very enjoyable and very unique to this movie. This movie was just absolutely special. This movie exceeded all my expectations. I absolutely loved this film, and it's definitely worth watching in theaters because it's going to be a visual masterpiece to see on the big screen, just with every single frame that we have, each character, each line of dialogue. It feels unique and it feels refreshing to a degree. But those are my thoughts on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Have you guys checked it out? What did you guys think? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.